我喺香港嚟，我淨係 overseas student。因為我今年係 first year 啦，但係我就諗住可以未雨綢繆，可以聽定我 graduate 之後嘅一啲關於返香港做嘢嘅，即係點樣可以返香港做嘢。
Evening to Canada. It's morning in Hong Kong, but I understand it's evening in Canada. So, honorable guests, fellow students from provinces of Ontario, Alberta, and British Columbia in Canada. Welcome to the 2007 Career Video Conference jointly organized by the Commerce, Industry and Technology Bureau here in Hong Kong and the Hongkong Economic Trade Office in Canada. The Hong Kong economy gathered strong momentum in 2006, as stated by the Financial Secretary, Mr. Henry Tang, in his latest budget speech on February the 28th. GDP leapt by 6.8% last year, and our economy has continuously enjoyed above-trend growth over the past 3 years. Today's event is generously supported by the Hong Kong General Chambers of Commerce, the Federation of Hong Kong Industries, as well as the Alumni Associations of the University of British Columbia and the Richard Ivey School of Business of the University of Western Ontario in Hong Kong.
First of all, I'd like to introduce the site here in Toronto. Actually, we split it into two sites in Toronto, on the first floor and on the ground floor and the third floor. Now, this is the ground floor situation. We have the full house here. Maybe we'll see all the students in this full house in the ground floor. We'd like to raise your hand to our speakers in Hong Kong. Say hello to them. We also have another center upstairs on the first floor. Again, this is a full floor on the third floor in Toronto. In Vancouver, we have a center in the Simon Fraser Institute, and I understand that again this is a full attendance in Vancouver. Is that right? And finally, Edmonton. This time is the first time that we have a center in Alberta. So we are seeing that this is actually there are a lot of Hong Kong students there in Edmonton. So we believe that in future we will have more activities in this part of the world. Thanks very much, and I'll pass the mic back to Hong Kong. Thank you.
In the 1960s, Hong Kong was a fledgling manufacturing economy, and its PRD hinterland was basically a farmland. Between then and now, Hong Kong has transformed into a leading financial and service hub for the region. The open door policy and the subsequent migration of Hong Kong manufacturing operations across the border into the PRD has proven mutually beneficial to both Hong Kong and the PRD region. Producer services are those supporting or relating to services that serve manufacturing activities. For example, finance, insurance, logistics, business services, etc. It is estimated that today's producer services account for about 50% of Hong Kong's GDP.
I'm an accountant and I work with figures all the day. So let me start by giving you some statistics. In fact, many successful investment analysts, fund managers, and people engaged in fundraising, IPOs, mergers and acquisitions, they are all top-notch accountants. Whereas services provided by an accounting firm are actually multidisciplined. There are accounting, auditing, tax, consultancy, corporate finance, restructuring, liquidation, etc., just to name a few. Accountancy is a versatile subject, and a professional accounting qualification and the training that goes along with it can be a stepping stone and open up many avenues for you should you want to change your job in the future. Members of the Institute are entitled to the description Certified Public Accountant and to the declaratory letters of CPA. And there were altogether something like 1,300 accounting firms in Hong Kong. And in fact, most of them are pretty small size, and about 75% of these 1,300 firms are actually sole proprietorships. University graduate is the basic student admission criteria. And I should also mention that there are graduate conversion courses available for non-accounting graduates as well.
Good morning, everybody. Good evening, everybody, as well. It's actually planning a career, and then the path towards a career, and then the prospect of the career, and then end up as a professional architect. So these are the 4 P's I actually want to concentrate on. Architecture is about the design of buildings. It covers all aspects of the process from the inception to the completion of a new building. It is an integrative art that takes account of history, culture, environment, technology, economics, management, and law. So, for the students present in Canada today, how do you become an architect? Generally, in Canada and in Hong Kong, it actually follows very similar principles. This involves a period of study at the university that has professional degrees for architects. What actually does the architect do? Architects actually undertake multiple roles in the daily work. The work is exciting and variable. One day they may be working on a concept design of a modern high-rise building. On another, they may be working on difficult small details of interior components. Although design skills are required, the practice of architecture today is so complex that areas of specializations are developing, so that besides design architects, there are also those who are expert in management, technology, and planning. The industry is actually booming, not just only in Hong Kong, but also in the bigger picture in the PRC, mainland China. And a lot of work involved are residential and mixed-use, commercial, residential, and mixed-use development. And now recently, in the last few years, Macau is booming. As you probably heard, a lot of casinos being established in Macau. Now, Hong Kong architects have also become increasingly international. They're also looking outside the Hong Kong arena. They're now actually into Dubai, into Abu Dhabi, in the Middle East, etc. And furthermore, Hong Kong architects are also getting into Africa. So there's actually a vast shortage of architects in Hong Kong at the moment. So I think all is good news from us in Hong Kong, and we'll actually look forward to all your contribution back home, if you like, or actually coming to Hong Kong for a place to stay. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and good evening. As a graduate from University of British Columbia who have returned to Hong Kong to work, I'm delighted to share with you the critical factors to consider if you decided to come to this part of the world to work. And in Hong Kong and other parts of Asia, the culture is actually quite diversified. And so if you wanted to make a decision to work in this part of the world, I would suggest that you come to this part of the world to travel a bit first. And actually at the same time, you can start to talk to your contacts and see how you want to make a decision to actually work here. Well, many advantages to work in Hong Kong, and Hong Kong is an international financial center in comparison to Canada. And Hong Kong has a very strong legal system. After 1997, I realized that I've talked to many of my counterparts in Vancouver. They would think that Hong Kong maybe would become more Chinese after 1997 because now it has become part of China rather than a colony of England. But actually, rather in contrast to that, it's actually becoming more international. And in that aspect, in terms of career development, there are actually a lot more in comparison to before. And of course, Hong Kong is not only a gateway to China, but it's also a very good connection to all the other countries in Asia, such as Japan, Korea, Vietnam, and also Thailand. So you should keep your eyes open and keep your options open and see what is available to you. And as a person who is in the accounting profession in the perspective of marketing, I do realize that international accounting networks such as the Big Four and the other international accounting network, they actually have their own recruitment programs in place. And you should actually check out their website and see what is available and apply from there. And apparently, other than local university graduates, I do realize that they are recruiting from overseas, like great Canadian graduates like yourself.
I've got two students standing behind me, and I'll ask them to ask the question first, one by one.
Hi, good morning to all the speakers. Thank you for taking out the time this morning to speak to us. I have a question. I know in the speeches you mentioned a lot about the job opportunities in Hong Kong regarding the different sectors. I have a specific question regarding accounting in Hong Kong. This is especially for students in Canada who have their chartered accountancy, and if they get it in Hong Kong, in Canada I mean, and they go to Hong Kong, would companies need them to take a conversion test to get their CPA? Or would they already be recognized for their accounting skills for getting their CA in Canada? And this could be going for different sectors, commercials or accounting firms. So I'd just like to ask if they already got their CA in Canada, what's the job opportunities? Thanks.
If you're a qualified accountant in Canada, if you come back to Hong Kong and work here, you're more than welcome. And it also depends on which type of organization that you're joining. Say, for example, if you're joining a company in the industry or in commerce, then basically your accounting qualification is more than sufficient. Whereas on the other hand, if you want to join an accounting firm, in particular, if you want to practice, by practice I mean that, say, for example, if you need to sign the audit report, then you must be a member of the Hong Kong Institute of CPA before you are able to sign the audit report, have the ability to sign an audit report. To be able to get a practicing certificate from the Hong Kong Institute of CPA, your accounting qualification in Canada may not be just sufficient because, after all, as you know, different parts of the world, in particular the law, the tax, they're different. So in order for you to practice in Hong Kong, then you have to take the examination again, in particular just on those two papers I mentioned, the law and the tax papers. So once you pass your law and tax paper in Hong Kong, then you will be able to admitted as an associate of the Hong Kong Institute of CPA, and you'll be able to get a practice certificate. Then basically you can practice in Hong Kong. So I'm not too sure whether I've answered your question or not, but if you do have a follow-up question, I'll be happy to respond to it.
I'm a fourth-year student from University of Toronto, and will graduate. And basically, I just want to ask Mr. Kong is that, because I heard that you have two accounting designations. One is the London one, the England one, and the other is the Hong Kong one. Is it more beneficial for students or people who are working in the accounting industry to have more than one designation? And I have another question is regarding CFA for Mr. Lee. Is it beneficial to have the CFA working in the finance industry instead of having the security certificate thing instead? Thanks.
Education is just the first step, I must say. Yes, I am a member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants in England and Wales. I'm a member of the Hong Kong Institute of CPA, but that only gives me some advantage when I look for a job after I graduated, after I got my first accounting qualification. But after that, I think it's really the experience that you have accumulated over the years which is important. Therefore, I think in a short answer to your question, having 1, 2, 3 professional accounting qualification is not really that matters. In fact, I've seen people having 4 sides of a business card, with all these designations and qualifications, but it doesn't lead to anywhere if your experience is bad and if the reference that one can get from an employer is bad, considering working attitude and whatnot. So I think it's the experience, the working attitude is more important than accounting
因為
qualification.
始終喺外國即係外國深造過，翻香港係我覺得會比正常人喺本地大學畢業嘅有少少得益咯，同埋可以英文程度應該會提升啲，即係起碼喺聽或者講方面都可以即係進步咯會有。因為我屋企人都喺香港，所以我諗我應該會翻去做。